are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hey, yo, what's happening, everyone, and welcome back to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing today? Because I know that I'll admit I am a little bit tired because I've already gotten a pretty hectic day so far, which doesn't even include the podcast itself. I already went out for a few hours just to do a bit of holiday shopping, and on top of that, I had to do some shoveling immediately afterwards, or actually more before and after, and it's the kind that's really not fun. The kind where last night there was a heavy amount of snow, and then immediately afterwards on the next day, today, we got rain. So you can imagine the combination of the two. Oh boy, it's just not fun when shoveling. So already had an unexpected workout that I had to do today. So don't be surprised if I may seem a little bit more tired for this podcast, or maybe like right afterwards, I might just crash. Who knows? But anyways, I will tell you so far for this episode, we are going to have a lot of fun, and there is already some major news that we are going to be talking about, including some that arrived somewhere around the last minute. But either way, this, I am sure, will definitely be an anticipated episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So I would like to go and ask the chat wall right over here, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Well, let me hear it, folks. Are you ready? Well, let's see. Yep. Okay. Oh, wow. Immediately, just people starting and just ready to go. I am so glad to see that. It's great to see the chat wall already active, crazy, and just simply on it. So, with all that said and done, I think it is time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that we got here, actually, you know what? I'm going to do something a little bit different. For our first story, I would like you guys to go and pick. Now, I got two choices that I would like you to go and select. Which one would you like me to start with? Marvel or DC? Come on, write down in the chat wall which one you would like me to go and begin. So which one would you like? Let's see. Okay, so we're seeing some mix. Okay, so some DC, but I see so far a lot of people are already, okay, they're demanding Marvel. So, Marvel is your choice, people? Okay, I think I got the message. So, I got a feeling that you guys wanted to start with Marvel. Okay, so with that said, we're going to begin with Marvel. And we shall go and take a look at our, well, first look, which technically is a teaser trailer, but they do call it a first look of what is already one of the most anticipated animated films and one of the most anticipated movies of 2022, Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse, Part 1.
She was a bad bad, nevertheless. Calling it quits now, baby, I'm a wreck. Crash at my place, baby, you're a wreck. Every time I'm leaving on you, you don't make it easy, no. Wish I could be there
Miles!
for you.
Miles! You got a minute?
Oh, what? Whoa, Gwen, how did she? How did you get? How have you been?
It's a long story. Is this the room you grew up in?
It is, but my dorm room is very adult.
Right. No, of course. Hey, are these your drawings?
What? No,
Oh,
no.
they're good. I missed you too.
Okay. So, what are you doing here? I mean, I thought I'd never see you again.
Want to get out of here?
I'm grounded.
Bummer.
What?
Is Spider-Man grounded?
I mean, I
And yes, folks, that is the trailer, or the teaser trailer, or the first look, or whatever the fridge you want to call it, of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, in which it is officially going to be coming out on October 7th, 2022, next year. And, how can I put this? What would be the best way to describe it? Ooh, here's a nice little button on my soundboard. Yeah, sounds about right. I mean, holy crap. Now, there are honestly two things that I want to say right now that I'm honestly a little bit surprised about with this. Number one being the fact that we got this first look very early, or have like this prominent trailer very early, where it's almost a year until this movie would officially go and come out. Or technically, I guess you could say about it in 10 months. Yeah, that does sound about right. Like in 10 months, this is when the movie is going to be released, and already we kind of have like a full-fledged trailer over here, which already shows us not only the events that happen immediately after the end of the first movie, where we see Miles and Gwen reunited, but also the second part, and probably the most exciting part, where we see a face-off between Miles versus Spider-Man 2029. So already that is a major confirmation of a new Spider-Man that's going to be out. I mean, I know some people might say, well, didn't Spider-Man 2099 already appear in the first one? Well, that's kind of like in the post-credits. I mean, like, literally in the main movie itself, where now Spider-Man 2029 is going to be a prominent character, and for some reason wants to take down Miles, as Miles was just trying to run away from Spider-Man 2029 across the multiverse, or at least the multiverse that they've established in this movie in particular. Now, but then again, some people would go and say, well, technically that wouldn't necessarily be that much of a surprise to begin with, because if you remember with the first Spider-Man, with Into the Spider-Verse, the teaser trailer, or the first look per se, that actually came out a whole year, or even like a little over a year before the movie officially came out on December of 2017. So that already arrived, and I guess this is kind of like following the tradition a little bit, where Sony wants to really go and establish the excitement and the anticipation really early on, to really say that this is what you're going to be excited for next year, and like kind of really legitimizing why they got the rights to Spider-Man, why it is integral for them to have the rights of Spider-Man, to not give it to Disney just yet, and to let them keep it so that they could go and make movies like this. Not necessarily with the Venom movies or Mobius or whatever crap like that. I mean like with this in particular. But here's the thing that I think we can all agree is the biggest surprise of all this. The fact that this is a part 1. That we could be getting 2 parts or maybe even more. I don't know if they have fully confirmed that this is going to be a 2-parter. Maybe they have, and I don't know, I just like completely forgot about the news or something like that. But still, this is going to be a part of a much bigger story, and that honestly is very rare to even find in animation. Like, yeah, follow-ups and sequels and stuff like that, those are pretty common. But seeing stuff like a part 1 or seeing like a movie that has a full story in parts, that is extremely rare, almost mythological. Yes, we are seeing that becoming more and more of a trend where we see movies such as Harry Potter, Twilight, The Hunger Games, even just recently with Dune, they're starting to establish their stories in parts. And even debatably the MCU has already done so, where technically you could say Infinity War and Endgame are a part of a major 2-parter story. So now we're seeing animation, and with Spider-Man now jumping into this trend where now they got to split their stories into different parts. And honestly, that would be crazy to think about. Like, I know a lot of people are already presuming that this is going to be a 2-parter, but I am curious to know if like Sony and the team that are working on this movie would really go that extra mile, and they would actually go and make like a part 3 or even a part 4. I don't know. That might be a bit excessive, but like if it were a 3-parter, that would honestly be really crazy right there. But for now, a lot of people are probably saying that it is a 2-parter, so we're just keeping it at that. Well, for now, we'll say that it is a 2-parter, but the fact that this is going to be a story that will really expand, more so than just one feature film. That is already exciting, and it's already a bit of a hint to show that, considering that it's going to be the story of Miles reuniting with some of the other Spider-Man characters from Into the Spider-Verse, where now they're going to go into like more different universes. That's going to be exciting. That I'm going to be quite curious and like probably anticipated to see how they're going to do it. And already I could just say right now that at least in terms of the second part, they really sold me right there. And that's mainly because, as you could probably tell, the art style that they went right over here, it's far more different than even the established art style that they have done for not just the first part of this trailer, but also as part of Into the Spider-Verse in general. That now we could see that when Miles and the other Spider-Man are there, when they're gonna go and jump into different different universes, the art style is gonna be completely different. And you could see here where this one, they went a little bit more simplified, a lot more kind of like really true to a concept art. It's a little bit like with like this kind of tone, like, yeah, they're going a bit more experimental, but it reminds me of something that they would do in terms of crafting concept art. Like, you know, when you would go and have like an art of book of a movie, and sometimes you'll see things that are more abstract or a little more simplified, where they're just really emphasizing the color to really form the shapes and everything. That's kind of the feeling that I am seeing when I would see the scene where Miles would go and run away from Spider-Man 2099. And like you could see where really it's like, it's all about the color here. Even when like fighting again, like even like right over here where you see like Miles fighting against Spider-Man 2099, and even like jumping into a different dimension, like going over here. Like even this part, like you can see, like now this is going to be where they're really going to go and play with different styles, much more so than they have with the first movie, because in the first film, it really is sticking to mostly one style, and the other it's mostly with the other characters that do play with different art styles and different animation techniques, whether it be Penny going full on anime, you got Peter Porker with Spider-Pig, where he's just a flat-out Looney Tunes style cartoon. You got Spider-Man Noir, that's a full-on, black and white film noir type character. And then, well, technically Peter B. Parker, well, he's kind of in a similar universe to Miles's universe in a way, but you all get the idea that I do have that I mean with this. So it's like, yeah, there are several different styles going on, but there is one main style that dominates the entirety of Into the Spider-Verse. But it looks like in here with Across the Spider-Verse, it looks like when they're going to be jumping into different universes, they're also going to encompass the different style, and that's going to be the part, at least visually, will definitely be exciting. And even with the whole fight scene with 2099 and Miles himself, like already that one, like the action here, let's go and watch this again, actually. Like you could tell, like it has all the things you want in a Spider-Man movie in terms of like the entertainment quality, where you got like awesome fight scenes, like it's going at a very fast pace, and just like you see like the camera just swirling around like really quickly. Like it's got a lot of action. It's very fast paced. It's exciting to look at. It's just like honestly, in terms of the visual aspect, like it really grabs your attention immediately. So already on that factor, I think they sold it extremely well. And this is not to go and overshadow what they have done in the first half as well. Like to get back into to get back with the characters also, because with Spider-Man, it's not just all about the action. It's also about the people who is underneath the mask. And that's kind of like in a way, that is kind of the message of Into the Spider-Verse, or with some of the Spider-Man stories and some of the Spider-Man movies, is that like what really makes Spider-Man truly the iconic superhero that we all know and love is really getting to know the person who is underneath the mask. And we know a whole lot about Peter Parker, but they really did take it to a whole new level when learning about who Miles is in Into the Spider-Verse. And we do have a little bit of that cute little bonding moment with Miles and being reunited with Gwen, and like for the first time, like Gwen is in his room and stuff, like trying to make, with Miles trying to be cooler than he seems in his room. And and also I just want to mention, I don't know if people have already done the shipping, but you could already tell like it's not fully 100% there, but you could tell like there's already a bit of like that tiny chemistry between Miles and Gwen. Like, yeah, like we already established them as friends, but we know very well that, Miles does have like a little bit of feelings for Gwen Stacy, not like madly in love immediately, but you can tell there's just a little bit. It's kind of like a realistic aspect of like, developing a crush. It's like, yeah, it's cool that they are friends, but you can tell like there's a small side in Miles that like wants to go to the next level with Gwen. And I know, like, technically we could talk about, well, there was that scene, like, with Miles in school with, trying to impress Gwen and stuff like that. But I mean, like, even afterwards, like, after their whole adventures, and even after Miles has found his identity as Spider-Man, or, like, that universe's Spider-Man. So, yeah, that I will say, like, at the start, it is pretty cute. But still, for me, I will say that the second part where we do see the new stuff and the action, like that's the real like grabber for me. It's like, oh my god, yes, okay, now I want to go and see this. And especially with the fact that it is going to be a part 1, it does make me curious about why would it be a part 1 in the first place. Like what other major ideas would they have in order to really go and expand it across several movies? I think that's going to be something ultimately we can't really answer for now, but we will have to go and, just wait and see on that. Now, I will say, though, there is one criticism that I saw on the internet, and I do actually find it funny that a lot of people are actually like, kind of like slamming Across the Spider-Verse a little bit for it. And it's actually like the big criticism that people are saying about this trailer in particular. It's the fact that they are saying that this first look is rude. it is just so rude for Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 to suddenly barge in and completely overshadow No Way Home before it was even released in the first place. It's like now suddenly, like there's already so much hype for No Way Home, and then suddenly it's just thrown out the window where now people are just ready to go and hype up for Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. No, but I know the criticisms are all jokes, but I thought it would be mentioned to say, considering that it is kind of like a funny thing that a lot of people are just bringing up, where like now that this trailer has suddenly appeared, like people are already excited for this more so than they were excited for No Way Home. But there is one more thing that I would like to comment. However, one thing that I do want to talk about, and there is a little, like, this is a legitimate concern that I do have for this, and that's especially the fact that this is a sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Like, not only do almost everyone, or pretty much everyone, agrees that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is Sony Pictures Animation's best animated feature that they've done, or even the best animated feature ever made at Sony Pictures, and not only one of the best movies made at Sony Pictures, but some people would even go as far and say that it is one of the best animated movies in recent years. And that is going to be the big challenge for this. And this is why I feel like with the Across the Spider-Verse movies, I think this is going to be Sony Animation's biggest challenge yet. Mainly because of the fact that now they got 2 or maybe more movies that they got to go and create that would match the standards of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That's going to be very tough. Like, I know a lot of people are saying like, oh yeah, they got this in the bag. They'll be it's Sony Animation. They're doing great right now with Spider-Verse and Mitchell's vs. the Machines. Yeah, they're going to do, they'll be able to go and do it. But still though, trying to go and make a sequel to what is essentially a phenomenon like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, that's going to be a very difficult task for everyone in the production, because there's a very, very high standard that they got to go and meet. And I'm not saying that the people at Sony and the crew that's working on this movie won't be able to do it. I'm just saying that it's going to be a very, very serious challenge that like I said before, it will be the toughest that Sony Animation will ever face in its entire history, at least so far. So honestly, that's why I want to say, like, I do wish the best of luck for the filmmakers to go and do this, because I understand this is going to be a very, very tough task, and you never know how it's going to be. Like, it can honestly go either way. And one thing that I do worry about is if Across the Spider-Verse could ultimately end up becoming like the Lego movie, because if you do think about it, the Lego movie, when it was released back in 2014, was I guess you could say, in a very similar spot as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was back at the end of 2018, where it was a phenomenon. A lot of people loved it, and many people even considered it to be one of the best animated features of all time. But then suddenly, by the time the sequel came out, in which Lord and Miller were actually in very similar positions as Across the Spider-Verse right now, where they were both the producers and also the writers of the movie, by the time Lego Movie Part 2 came out back in 2019, people really did not care for it. People didn't, like, yeah, I'm not saying that the movie was bad or anything like that. I personally find it to be pretty good, but it was nowhere, like, a lot of people agree that it was nowhere near the quality of what the first movie established, and it ultimately ended up becoming a massive box office bomb, like down to the point where Lego ultimately bailed out of Warner Brothers. And that's what I feel like is the worst case scenario of Across the Spider-Verse, is if that movie does come out and it doesn't meet the standards of the first Into the Spider-Verse movie, and it would ultimately just like kind of crumble within itself. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen. And yeah, maybe some people could say there's a very low chance of happening, but that doesn't mean that, the What am I trying to say here? Yeah, okay, yeah. That doesn't mean that the chances are 0. So keep in mind, there is still that chance that it could happen. But then again, on a brighter note, there is a possibility that maybe there could actually be a way that Across the Spider-Verse could actually exceed the expectations of what people may have. And some people might think it could be impossible, but who knows? Maybe it could actually be even better than the first Spider-Verse movie. You know, it could be a similar case to How to Train Your Dragon, where the first movie came out, a lot of people really love it, and then the second movie was released, and it will, at least for me, I find it to be way, way better than the first, and it was one of DreamWorks' best movies that they've ever done, period. In fact, I personally even consider it to be one of the best animated films in the last decade. It was that good. So who knows? It could go either way with this movie, but ultimately, we will have to wait and see. But for now, with what we got with this first look right over here, yeah, Sony really nailed it with this trailer. Like, they really got a lot of people's attention. They really hit all the right notes on what to expect, like especially as a teaser with like seeing the old characters back again and seeing something new at the same time, like delivering exactly just a little taste of what we would want in another Spider-Verse movie, with the fast-paced action, with like with the crazy animation styles, and just like all around Spider-Man fun. So honestly, this is already a great, beautiful first impression that they have done. And if you are all excited for when this movie comes out, then keep in mind that Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 is going to be coming out on October 7th of next year. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to go and ask you all, what is your opinion on Spider-Verse Across the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1? What did you think of the first look? Are you guys excited for this? Did you find this to be amazing? Or do you not agree and you don't think it's as good as what the hype is building up for? Let me know what you think on all this. Okay, let's see what we got here. I am very excited for this film. The first Spider-Verse was great and was very unique. Across the Spider-Verse looks very unique too. Spider-Man 2029 will be voiced by Oscar Isaac. His character will offer more to the film. I hope we see Peter B. Parker return because I enjoyed his Spider-Man and the other Spider-People too. The relationship between Miles and Gwen looks to be expanded on, and I am indeed surprised by the fact that there are 2 parts. One film I am excited for 2022. All right, well, I mean, a lot of us, some of that I'm sure it'll probably be right, but for now, like, that'll just be a guess. Let's see what else do we have here. The first look to the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse got me so much hype. I really love the new visuals that made more like 2D traditional animation with the comic book look remain from the first film. This is the first time for an animated film, at least for everyone, to have a 2-part movie. I wonder what type of visual style Sony Pictures Animation will use for K-pop Demon Hunter. Sony already is doing a great job with their film since 2018 and now expanding PG-13 and R animated films in the future. Well, we don't necessarily have a confirmation as of yet, and I mean, that's still thinking a little too ahead. I mean, we don't have any full-on announcements to those, so ultimately we will have to wait and see. For now, like, we just got this one trailer in particular. So yeah, like, there is no, like, we still don't know if those PG-13 and R movies are still happening. Like, I mentioned this before, like, it's been years since we've last heard about any updates regarding those movies that Yeti Tartakovsky is technically developing. So we still don't know if they're either, like, still in development, if they're still gonna happen, or if they're flat out canceled. So ultimately, we'll have to wait and see. Let's see what else we got here. As someone who adored Into the Spider-Verse, this teaser made my hype meter reach 100%. The animation is incredible as always, the characters are still very charming, and getting to see Spider-Man 2099 in the other universes has me very invested into the story shown so far and makes me curious to see which other versions of Spider-Man will show up, especially since this is just part 1. Throwing my money on the screen is not enough for me. Just hook this movie in my veins. Yeah, the hype is definitely real for this one. Okay, let's see now. Miles is a dork and I love him. Him and Gwen are cute. And then hexagonal dimensional hopping. Trippy dimensional travel. Please don't let there be seizure lights. God, watching some parts of the first was a headache. However, still cool with that action scene and cinematography. The faux 2D look in that dimension, just definitely a feast for the eyes. I only hope that the movie makes enough money to make or release a part 2. I know Alliance Part 2 was canceled because it flopped. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you never know how the future is going to be, especially in this pandemic, but probably with the hype that's going on over here and already the ticket sales that were so they were crazy flying for No Way Home. I think this one is going to be fine. I think this is going to be a case where pandemic or no pandemic, I think in terms of Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, it's going to do just fine as a movie. You know, I think it'll do just fine at the box office. Let's see. This trailer looks just mega awesome. The visuals are eye gorgeous. The action scenes with what we've seen so far looks well choreographed with the camera movements. Can't wait for a release date in the future months. Also, what is your favorite Spider-Man comic book period? Honestly, I cannot answer that question because I have not read any Spider-Man comics, so honestly, I don't know. Okay. So that's what it looks like when Phil Lord and Chris Miller have an orgasm. God, I don't want to even think about that. I don't care what you say about Lord and Miller. Please don't make me think about their O-face. Let's see. The animation is absolutely banging, and I like the subtle touches with Miles and Gwen's design. The expansion on the ideas from the first film are already creative, and the fact that this is a part 1 is really intriguing. So, do I even need to say whether or not I'm going to watch it? Of course I am. I just hope they expand on the iconic shoulder touch joke from the original. Ah, yes, that is true. Who could forget about that iconic moment? And yeah, that's also another thing that I will say. Speaking of How to Train Your Dragon 2, this looks like it could be another one where this is going to be a little bit ahead in the future. And even though it does look like they are setting things up that is immediately after the end of the first film, you do see a little bit of subtle differences between the designs of both Miles and Gwen. You do see a little bit of how both Gwen and Miles are a little bit older, that they did age up just a little bit compared to before. And and honestly, I love those designs. I love it when sequels do acknowledge that there was a bit of a time lapse compared to before. And it's very rare that we would find these. It's only the How to Train Your Dragon films, they've taken advantage of that, and they did so beautifully. And technically, I would say also Toy Story 3 has done so. And that's a major time gap where, yeah, they really had to go and age up Andy from a kid to a full-on college student. But still, that is honestly a very nice touch that I do like to see. And honestly, I would totally be on board. That's honestly one thing I hope for, that this could be what How to Train Your Dragon 2 is to that franchise, where this could honestly be even better than the first movies. That's at least what I am hoping for. Let's see. I think I'll read 2 more comments before we move on to the next story. Anyways, where we got here? I gotta say, this movie looks very mind-blowing. I remember watching the first Spider-Verse film once back in 2019, and I really enjoyed it with the state-of-the-art animation and amazing action sequences. The first look at Across the Spider-Verse looks very impressive so far from what I've seen. I didn't got much to say, but I hope Spider-Man fans will have a great time when the movie comes out in October. Oh, absolutely. I do. I think it's a guarantee for them that they will love it. But let's see what else. One more. All right, fine. I'll go with this one. All I can say is, but shut up and take my money, because this is going to be epic for the first half. I find it cute between Miles and Gwen as they are focusing on the relationship between the two, but for the second half, this looked bigger than expected, especially with the fight scene between Miles and Spider-Man 2099. Overall, my hype is on, and I can't wait to see part 1 in IMAX in theaters. Also, the wooden moose from the Mitchells vs. the Machines makes an Easter egg cameo in Miles' room, so that is cool. Yes, that is actually pretty true. And for those of you who want to know where that little cameo is, it's at this part right over here, and it's with all the little animals on the side you see on the left, and right over here is actually the wooden moose from Mitchells vs. the Machines. You know, the one that that Rick gave to Katie as a kid, and it's kind of like a bit of a symbolism, if you will, of their bond. So it's a cute little cameo, a cute little appearance that they did right over there. So yes, folks, if you guys are excited to go and check out Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I can already tell many of you are, then don't forget to go and check it out and mark your calendars on October 7th, 2022. And for once, there's actually going to be a really good Spider-Man movie that's going to be coming out very close to my birthday, or at least one that we could expect that to be very excited for, and that it's going to be hopefully amazing. All right, folks, it is now time that we're going to jump onto our next story. And I said that you guys picked that you wanted to go and start things off with the Marvel one, and now it is time that we're going to go into the DC one. And before I do get into this story, I just want to start things off by talking about a previous story that I talked about. I believe it was from last week, where I talked about the new trailer of the DC League of Super Pets, in which that movie is going to be coming out in 2022, the next fully animated movie by Warner Animation Group. The first one since Scoob, or at least the first one that's going to be the first fully animated movie by WAG that will be released in theaters ever since the Lego Movie 2, actually. So yeah, there's been quite a long gap compared to that. And you guys probably remembered that I know that technically there are some people who are excited to go and see that movie because of the potential that it does have, which I could see from their perspective why it would be exciting. But personally, I'm just not really all that thrilled. And from the trailer that we've seen, it gave me a lot of doubts of how that's going to be. There's just something about the animation that just doesn't look great. The execution on the concept feels a little bit too much like The Secret Life of Pets, and even some of the voice acting, especially from Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart, they just don't sound as enthusiastic as they would be compared to some of the other characters that they've played, such as Maui from Moana or Snowball in Secret Life of Pets. So honestly, I was just not really that excited. So when WAG announced that they're going to go and try to develop another DC movie as part of their animated feature lineup, I was like, I don't know, guys. I'm just not really feeling it. But then suddenly they mentioned two familiar names. Two names that a lot of people know very well in the animation industry, that just like that, it just grabbed my attention. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk about our next story of the next Warner Animation Group movie that will be done by John Musker and Ron Clements. Yes, you heard it right. The Disney legends John Musker and Ron Clements are going to be working at Warner Animation Group in order to develop a new animated feature that will be based on the classic DC comic superhero group Metal Men. And I think for those of you who are watching this, then there is probably a good chance that you already know who John Musker and Ron Clements is. They are known as the dynamic directing duo of Disney, and these are the guys who are actually responsible for many of Disney's greatest classics. Now, I will say that not all of their movies are a massive masterpiece or a major home run, you know? Like, there are a few that, they're good, but they're not that great. They're, like, pretty faulty, like Treasure Planet, for example. But then they would go and make some fan favorites and some of Disney's best films. We're legit talking about the directors of movies such as The Great Mouse Detective, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules, The Princess and the Frog, and even just recently with Moana. Yes, it's these guys, and now they're going to be working at Warner Animation Group for Metal Men. But what are they going to do exactly? Well, apparently right now it has been reported that not only have they already done a written treatment along with Celeste Ballard, who recently was a part of the writing team of Space Jam: A New Legacy, but Musker and Clements are also going to be producing the feature as well. And while there is no confirmation, but there is a strong chance that they might be directing this movie as well. The position has not been assigned yet, but there might be a good chance that they will go and actually direct this too. But for now, all we got is just a written treatment. They got a producing crew already established, and the next step will probably be, if things go well, that they will go and legitimately make the movie. Now, I know that there might be some of you that are wondering, I'm sorry, who are they? And I don't necessarily mean John Musker and Ron Clements, but I mean the Metal Men. Because chances are, from this news, this is the first time you've ever heard of them. And honestly, it was for me too. But there is this little section here from my source on The Hollywood Reporter that does give you a little bit of a summary of who these superheroes might be, or who they are, essentially. All right, so let me go and read you from my source here. It states, based on the DC comic heroes created by Robert Kanigher and Ross Handru in 1962, the concept revolves around a brilliant scientist, William Magnus, and his creations, 6 highly advanced robots who have powers and personalities associated with their respective metals: gold, iron, lead, tin, mercury, and platinum. The group had its own title in the 1960s and then made frequent appearances throughout the DC universe in ensuing decades. The stories have vacillated in tone from comedic to somber, with the group at times being on the run from government agents or even being robot assassins. The group sometimes incorporated a whole periodic table worth of metal elements as new characters. The heroes made appearances in various animated series in the 1990s and 2000s, with Warner's in the Anks trying to develop in the Octs. That's what you mean. With Warner's in the 2000s trying to develop a live-action takes that involved, at various points, X-Men producer Lauren Schuler Donner, writer and executive Geoff Johns, and Men in Black filmmaker Barry Sonnenfeld. So for a while, they wanted to make a legit Metal Men movie, but they just don't know how. But now they're going to try something new. They're going to try something completely different, and they're going to trust the Disney legends to go and bring this to life. And I just gotta say that this one really had me surprised. Like, this really was a case where, like, Warner Animation Group announced there's going to be a new movie coming up that's going to be a DC film, and for me, I was just like, honestly, I like, right now with how Warner Animation Group is, I'm just not really that big of a fan of them right now. It's like, after the Lego movies, they haven't made anything that's really great or really worth watching. There was Scoob that was just a massive disappointment. Then there was also Tom and Jerry that was a massive disaster. And then we got Looney Tunes: A New Legacy, which I know a lot of people had fun with it, but for me, I did not. I just find it to be trash. And then there's also going to be DC League of Super Pets, which I've already mentioned. From the trailers that I'm seeing, I am not excited for it. And I mean, yeah, there are a few other movies that they've done that's actually pretty good outside of some of the Lego movies, like Storks was, Storks, I mean, it's not great, but I do find it a little bit underrated. But other than that, though, there's really nothing worth talking about with Warner Animation Group. But then I heard Ron and John are going to be attached to this. Like, that got me honestly surprised. And that was actually something that a lot of people, like, not like both friends and fans, have actually messaged me, like, mentioning, yo, man, you gotta see this. Ron and John are gonna be working on a Warner Brothers animated movie. Like, they've all been mentioning me this and sending me the same article again and again and again, that, like, they knew, like, everybody knew that this was a story that I just had to go and talk about. And I completely understand, because honestly, I'm just very shocked of the fact that I would hear these two names again for a Warner Brothers movie, because I was honestly in the mentality that Ron and John would be those names that they would be exclusive to Disney. Like, they would be filmmakers that would devote all their time on when they would make movies, it's got to be done at Disney. It's very similar to names such as, like, the guys from The Nine Old Men, or Eric Goldberg, or Mark Henn, or Andreas Deja. Okay, well, some of them, I mean, I know that they have worked in other stuff. Like, I know Eric Goldberg already did spend some time at Warner Brothers, like being the director of Back in Action. But still, though, like with John Musker and Ron Clements, those are names that, like, you just think Disney. Like, it would never really cross your mind to think, like, oh, maybe one day they'll make a movie outside of Disney, like at Warner Brothers or DreamWorks or Sony or whatever. And now suddenly hearing them being attached to Warner Animation Group, like, that is unexpected, especially when there was also a news, like, a while ago that was revealed that apparently John Musker retired from animation. Now, I did double check to see if that is actually the case. Like, I was thinking, like, okay, did John Musker pull, like, some kind of Hayao Miyazaki thing where he decided to go and fully retire and then suddenly just, like, oh, I got an idea for another movie. Yo, Ron, you want to do a Metal Band movie? Let's go to Warner's and go and do that. Like, I thought that would be the case, but actually it's not really. Because what did happen was that John Musker, he did technically retire, but it's technically retiring from Disney Animation. It's mostly, it's like, how can I put this? Ceremoniously leaving the company. Like, he's still in great terms with Disney. He's still in great terms with everyone there. He just decided, okay, well, I'm going to go and move on to somewhere else. It's kind of like with Glenn Keane, for example. When Glenn Keane, throughout most of his career, he worked at Disney, but then he decided to spread his wings and leave the nest. It's a very similar thing like that, where he just left the company in very, very good terms. So honestly, yeah, this is all to say that it is just a complete shock to hear those two names making another animated movie, but this time outside of Disney Animation. But even if it's not going to be from Disney, it's still not going to change that I'm going to be excited to know what this is going to be about. And honestly, after my comments of what I've said about Warner Animation Group, I think this is honestly something that they need. This is exactly what the doctor ordered right over here. And I cannot be any more excited for this project. Like, already, just on this factor that they will have John Musker and Ron Clements, like, already this has me excited for this movie, and already to have this be my most anticipated Warner Animation Group movie, because, like, they need kind of like a wake-up call. That's exactly what Warner Animation Group needs. They need established animators who know what they're doing, who already have, like, great examples of their work, and go and, like, really make the, like, really build up the studio's legacy from there. And unfortunately, they can't really go and get Phil Lord and Chris Miller again. Like, I'm sure as much as Warner Brothers would like to have those two again, it seems very unlikely, because right now Lord and Miller are very much high on demand, and they are busy at places like Universal and at Sony, making movies, both animated and live action over there. But I feel like they got the next best thing. They already got two fan favorite directors, like another dynamic duo directors, now going to be working at Disney. And with John Musker and Ron Clements, I think it's no secret that I love those two. I would even consider them two of my favorite directors who worked at Disney, especially with their massive library of feature films that they got, and already have worked on so many great films, especially with Moana, with Aladdin, and with The Great Mouse Detective, which honestly, that one is amongst my top 10 favorite Disney animated features. So that right there makes me already so excited. And even though this movie, like, it's still, keep in mind, this is still very, very early in production, and reports do say that the only things that have been done so far is just a written treatment, and that's it. So chances are we're not going to see this movie until like a very, very long time, until they have fully approved it. And especially when like Warner Brothers has already got a major lineup of films that are going to be coming soon, especially with some of the Dr. Seuss movies that will go up to 2027. So honestly, with this, I don't know when this one is going to be coming up. Like if there is going to be a release date, if things do go well, I can imagine we're not going to have this until like in another like 3 to 4 years. Like in like the earliest that I can imagine will be in 2024 or maybe in 2025. But honestly, we will have to wait and see. But honestly, I do hope for the best for this project in particular, because again, I definitely trust John Musker and Ron Clements. They are two of my favorite Disney directors, and tackling on a new project such as Metal Man, like, who knows, that maybe this could turn out to be like the DC version of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, maybe this is exactly what both DC and Warner Animation Group would, something that they definitely would need, because I could already see a lot of the potential that they could really play with Metal Man and be like something similar to Big Hero 6. So who knows? Honestly, I'm just gonna go and wish Ron, John, Celeste, and the people at Warner Animation Group the best of luck on this project, and let's go hope for the best. Let's hope that this could actually be the best WAG movie that will be made so far, like even exceeding what they have done with the Lego movies. Who knows? But I'm definitely excited. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you think about Metal Man? And especially, what do you think of the fact that John Musker and Ron Clements are going to be working on this project? Are you guys excited for this? Are you guys a little bit iffy about it? Let me know what you all think. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay, everything about this sounds awesome. The superheroes are obscure enough to make whatever they want and interpret. Musker and Clements have a really great track record when it comes to their movies. I can already imagine that they would do something like Treasure Planet. I think Warner Animation wants this to be their Spider-Verse and decided to hire directors for their rival studio to give them something sci-fi. I think this could be something really interesting, and I hope they get creative freedom. Yeah, I can imagine where that could be the influence. And I mean, we are living in an age where, like, the big mainstream genre is superheroes, and already even animation is jumping into it, and jumping into it very prominently, where we are seeing, like, Pixar has recently done so by jumping in the trend with Incredibles 2. Of course, Sony jumped into the trend magnificently with Spider-Verse. And debatably, you could say even Disney jumped into the trend a little bit early with Big Hero 6 as well. So I think it's only a matter of time that we are going to see other studios also develop their superhero type movie as well. Even with Warner Animation Group, considering that they already have the DC properties, it would only be about time. It would only be a matter of time that they would take advantage of them in order to make big screen animated features, rather it be DC League of Super Pets or even what we're seeing right over here with Metal Men. Let's see what else we got here. I remember reading this story and being like, a new WAG DC movie. I don't know. I wasn't sold on Super Pets trailer, so Musker and Clements, you say? I'm a huge fan of Musker and Clements' work, especially Moana and Aladdin, and the concept sounds pretty intriguing. So this is something I'll keep an eye on, and if it turns out to be interesting enough, I'll cuff up the $20. But when you say one of the Metal Men is Iron, I guess that means DC technically has an Iron Man. Yeah, that is true, actually. You know, it's kind of an ironic case because it's very simple. Because I know for a fact that when it comes to Marvel and DC, there are superheroes that do have like identical names. Like, I mean, I don't know if he's technically called Iron Man, but I know that technically both DC and Marvel, they have a Captain Marvel. That like they got two completely different superheroes, and yet they are actually called Captain Marvel. So there is that major coincidence. All right. And also, I just want to say, like, I know this might sound pretty stupid of me, but one thing I do have to say from my research, when looking up what the Metal Men are and looking into, like, you know, like what are they, what are their story and what are their superpowers and stuff like that. There's one stupid thing that I do have to admit. Platinum is actually pretty hot. And for those of you who don't know, Platinum is the main girl of the team. Like, all the others consist of guys, and then there's the one girl, and that one is a coincidence. That one is called Platinum, and I got to admit, there's a lot of artwork out there, like official artwork from comics and cartoons, where I got to say with Platinum, it's like, okay, she's actually pretty cute. She's honestly, she's pretty hot. So if there's one thing that I will say, if it's not John Musker and Ron Clements that makes me excited to see this movie, it would be to see Platinum on the big screen. I gotta admit, she's pretty hot. She's actually a pretty cute girl. She's got some great designs going that really grabbed my attention. I know it's the dumb guy side of me talking, but still, I just need to mention it. Even this one right over here, like, I gotta say, she's actually pretty gorgeous. Yeah, she's a robot, but I mean, what can I say? I mean, like, I'm attracted. You know? Anyways, let's go back into this. Let's see in the chat wall here. When I heard about this news, I was like, wow, I never really heard of Metal Men because I don't read a lot of comics, but hearing about this actually got me interested. Actually feels like this might be like a Guardians of the Galaxy take, since you said this was going to be comedic or maybe a Warner Brothers version of Big Hero 6, but will it do better than any other Warner Brothers animated movie? We'll just wait and see when it is released. And does anyone find the metal lady sexy all of a sudden? I know I don't know if you wrote that before I was talking about that, but yeah, I will admit she is sexy. I mean, I am completely guilty of that. If there is one robot that I would like to go out with, it's undeniably Platinum. All right. Anyways, let's go back over here. This news really got me interested. I absolutely love the works of John Musker and Ron Clements, and I could definitely see how they could take an obscure property like Metal Men and help bring them into the mainstream. However, I am worried about having Celeste Ballard as the writer, considering she worked on Space Jam: A New Legacy, which, say what you will about the film, even though I enjoyed it, I definitely think the writing is one of the weakest parts of the film. I mean, you never know, man. You never know. I mean, like a great comparison, like a great example of what you might be thinking is like I just want to bring up David Callahan. He's another writer who has worked on plenty of other prominent movies, whether it be The Expendables, Wonder Woman, or whatever. And in 2021, there are two very contrasting films that show the best of him and the worst of him. Like, David Callahan is credited as the writer of America, the Motion Picture. And I absolutely despise that movie. It is one of the worst movies that I've seen in a while, in a long time, actually. It's just not funny. It is purely cringe, a lot more juvenile than it is enjoyable. And that's also, and by the way, that's honestly one thing that does make me worried also about Across the Spider-Verse, is that he's a part of the writing team along with Lord and Miller. And considering that collaboration before Spider-Verse was America the Motion Picture, that is one thing that has me concerned that there might be a chance that the fate of Across the Spider-Verse could end up similar to the Lego Movie 2. But then again, he was also a part of the writing team of Shang-Chi. And that turned out to be a major hit. And that turned out to be a really fun and enjoyable Marvel movie. It was like a really great and grand return of Marvel exclusively on the big screen. And it truly was a moment to celebrate. And even the movie itself was just all around fun. It was all around well put together, well made, and just great all around. So that's the big thing. Like, yeah, on one hand, I do understand where with Celeste Ballard, like some people may not trust her because she previously was part of the writing team of Space Jam: A New Legacy. But you never know, she could actually turn out something good, especially under the guidance of Ron Clements and John Musker. So I just want to go and point that out. Let's see, what else do we have here? I love most of John Musker and Ron Clements' work, so this does have me quite intrigued. There isn't a lot to offer of other details so far, so I can't really say anything about this since I've never heard about the Metal Men before, but from what you read, there are a lot of possibilities for the story with how many different tones these characters have, and not to mention with how little popularity that they have. Exactly. Taking something obscure, like if it is something that's obscure, then you pretty much have the freedom to go and do whatever the fridge you want to go and do with them. So already there is that massive advantage. All right, I think I'm going to go and read 2 more comments before we jump into the next story. Have I read that one? Yes, I have. Yeah, okay, I'll go with... Actually, I'll just read one more. I think I've already read a good chunk of them. This could go either way. Either that this film could turn out really awesome with Musker and Clements making an unknown DC superhero film that I've never known, or it turns out bad if Warner Brothers and WAG screw this film up, but I'm hoping for the former. Or if it turns out really good, but Warner Brothers pulled an Iron Giant and gave it little marketing to the film, then I will be sad. I just hope this film will be good. Yeah, I definitely hope so too. And I mean, we're not going to hear about this movie for a while now, but let's just hope for the best. And I mean, a Musker and Clements directed DC superhero films from Warner Animation Group could definitely have a lot of possibilities there. All right, so with that said, let's go and move on from superheroes. And let's go and talk about the industry itself. Because I will say right now, if you are on social media and you do follow several animators or people who work in the industry, then you'll probably notice that there is a lot of them who are not happy. That they're expressing their grievances and their dismay with working in the animation industry, and that, you know, it's not as magical or as inspiring as many people hope it would be. That there are a lot of downsides to it, and often working in the industry can be heavily disenchanting, regardless of what studio you may go and work at, rather it be a place like even like some of the biggest ones, rather it be Disney, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Adult Swim, Sony Animation, DreamWorks, Warner's, or what have you. It's just, you know, it's not really as, it's not as colorful or as magical as they would portray them or as they would make them in their animated features. But there might be a way to go and fix this. So with the next story, let's go ahead and talk about a certain hashtag that you might have seen called New Deal for Animation. Now, there are other variants of this hashtag. Some would also say pay animation writers, but some might be wondering what is going on. What is happening with the animation industry that has all these animation writers and have all these animators very much upset with the current conditions with the animation industry? Well, there is a bit of a trend within the animation community that has been noticed where they do point out that the wage gap between animation writers and live action writers are massively different. Where if you would go and write for a live action production, whether it be for film, for television, for streaming, or whatever, you will be paid a lot more than the animation writers. Like if a writer for like The Loud House, for example, will be paid much less. In fact, they will only be paid less than half than what a live action writer would go and do. Like a writer for The Mandalorian, for example. In fact, in my source here, again from The Hollywood Reporter, there is actually a better example to give you like a good idea of what I'm talking about. So it says here, forming a campaign around writers permits the Animation Guild to point to some clear pay differences between comparable jobs, however. The Animation Guild, by the way, is the union for animators and people working in the animation industry. Though the Animation Guild members, some of whom are also members of the Writers Guild of America, which covers some animation writers and offers them the same minimums as live action writers, say WAG writers working in live action and animation do the same job, the differences in pay is stark. As of May... Oh god, that freaking scared me. Holy crap. I'm sorry, it was just like the light just flashed and I thought it was like, fudge, no, not now, not another power outage. Oh man. Okay. Oh, got a mini heart attack right over there. Anyways, where the fridge was I? Ah, yes. Okay. As of May 1st, 2021, a journey person, animation story person, or animation writer covered by the Animation Guild made a weekly minimum of $2,064 while working on a half-hour scripted series while television writers associated with the WAG made between $3,964 and $5,059 a week. When it comes to freelance scripts for half-hour scripted series, the Animation Guild says that its writer minimum as of May 1st, 2021 was $9,099, while WAG minimums range between $12,290 and $27,100 in that same period. The Animation Guild writers also do not receive primary residuals like some so-called above-the-line unions like SAG-AFTRA members say. So basically, this whole article here, in which is called Animation Guild Takes Pages from Larger IATSE Activism and Push for Higher Wages by Katie Kilkenny, that one pretty much highlights what animation writers are going through and how their pay is obviously not as much or even less than half than what live action writers are getting right now. And it even emphasizes that for freelance writers, they're barely making a livable wage. Like they're pretty much like they ain't living. They ain't making a paycheck. They're like just surviving. They're just barely going through their paycheck one after another, and they're not even getting like any of the benefits, you know, like health insurance or dental insurance or whatever kind of like beneficial insurance that would come with whatever type of work that you would have. So basically, taking inspiration from the recent or like the recent scares or the idea of a strike from the IATSE, the Animation Guild also wants to go and ask for better pay for both animators and especially for animation writers so that the gap can be minimized or at least have as much pay, where working in animation can make you as much money as much as it would be for working in live action. Now, there is actually a recent update that did happen a few days ago where with these, with these conditions, apparently right now, the discussions for them is on hold. We even got it stated from Alexa Drozu, the Guild's Director of Communications and Content, where she mentioned to Deadline, an agreement was not reached today. We will have to continue negotiations in the new year, though no date has been set. So for now, so at least for this year, nothing can be resolved. Nothing will change. It's only until next year when they will have some legitimate discussions. But for now, this whole hashtag with new deal for animators or with pay animation writers, it's made to go and highlight the difficulties that many animators and animation writers and people who work in the industry, that there are some problems, obviously, and they need to be addressed in order to make a better and especially a more livable wage. So really it is in regards to the payments. And I'm going to be very honest, I'll just go and put my opinion on this. And while I definitely do agree with what is going on, and yeah, I do find it a little bit ridiculous how people who work in the animation industry are certainly not getting as much as they would in the live action industry. I find it honestly absolutely ridiculous where there are people working on SpongeBob, like writers for SpongeBob SquarePants are not being paid as much as like the schmuck writer who worked for this stupid pilot that isn't even going to get picked up in the first place, that will only have like 1 or 2 episodes aired on NBC and that's it. And he's going to, and that person is going to get paid so much more because that pilot was in live action, whereas working on SpongeBob, well, it's animation, so you can only get animation pay, and that's pretty much it. So you could tell that there is this massive injustice. But one thing that I would like to go and state is that while I definitely do like to see this be resolved, I think this definitely is an issue that they should go and address. This is honestly just the tip of the iceberg. I feel like this is a problem that goes far beyond than just animation writers. Like, this also goes to several different fields at the same time, whether it be working on live action or working on visual effects or what have you. I think there really is a gap, like, across the board in the industry that needs a lot more negotiations than just for the writers. And one great example is regarding the directors, especially like directors for animated features, because those guys don't get as much credit as much as they would if they would go and do a live action, like a live action movie. Because I remember there was this one exchange that, like this one tweet made by Clay Cadis. And Clay Cadis, he is becoming a rising star in terms of a filmmaker. He started out working at Disney Animation, but then he directed his own movie where I think it's just him, or there's also someone else, but he is at least one of the directors of the Angry Birds movie back in 2016. And then he would go and direct his own feature, like his own live action movie with the Christmas Chronicles afterwards. And I remember there was one tweet that he posted where he mentioned how with the Angry Birds movie, because it was animation, he did not get paid as much as a live action feature. Where if the Angry Birds movie was a live action film, then Clay Cadis would have gotten so much more out of it. Where because of the union associated with directors, I believe it's the Directors Guild of America. Like if the Angry Birds movie was a live action film, based on the success that it had, Clay Cadis would have been paid extra millions for it, where some of that revenue at the box office would have also gone to him as well. But because it is an animation movie, he's not getting it. He's only getting that one simple payment from Sony Pictures, and that's pretty much it. Or that like regular payment from Sony Pictures, like the paycheck after paycheck and stuff like that. So yeah, I think also with directors as well, they're really getting the short end of the stick. I know that there might be a few exceptions where there are some animation writers and some animation people where they are paid millions of dollars working on their shows, but that's only for legendary series. That's for stuff like The Simpsons, Family Guy, and South Park, and what have you. But those are shows that literally took decades for them to go and establish their mark in television history. It took them definitely more than 20 years or even 30 years in the case of The Simpsons that they have to go and air episode after episode after episode. And from there, they would go and establish themselves as a highly watched show that is still going on. And in order to keep the engine running, they would demand more payments. So there is also that factor. I know there are exceptions, but those exceptions are the very rare kinds of shows. But still, it doesn't change that for the rest of the animated shows that would air on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or Disney or whatever, they would still need to be paid heavily. And also on top of that, there is the factor regarding streaming, because often streaming can have their own rules where it's not necessarily television, but at the same time, it's not necessarily a movie either. And there should also be rules meant to go and establish how much these people should be paid when their shows would be appearing either on HBO Max or Paramount Plus or Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever. There's a lot of different things that need to go and would have to go and be and discussed. But honestly, with this whole situation with the New Deal for Animators hashtag and stuff like that, I feel like it really does highlight this dark reality about the animation industry. And I know that it really does suck probably for aspiring animators or for aspiring people who want to work in the animation industry, that it's not as glamorous or it's not as much of a dream as they would probably hope it would be. Because there is that reality that they're just not really paid as much. They're mostly neglected. And when you work in the animation industry, that doesn't mean you're going to get a one-way ticket to also work in live action and stuff like that. No, there are different standards. And unfortunately, animation is still at a lower standard compared to live action, which is why these negotiations should be important to go and discuss about it. But again, I personally feel like there is so much more to this problem than just for animation writers. I feel like also everyone in the industry is being screwed over, including directors, producers, and this is not even to mention about the little guys like the animators, the visual effects artists, the lighting crew, and all those people, the people who are working on the visual aspect of the feature film. Those guys, I feel like, honestly, they still have a very long way to go before the industry could even look at them and consider them as people they should take seriously. So yeah, honestly, there's just a very long way to go, but I think for now, like, the purpose of New Deal for Animation is to go and highlight the reality, to really pull behind the curtains of what is happening within the industry, much more than what you would find like on YouTube videos or even on like behind the scenes clips officially from these studios, where yeah, working for these companies, it's not as glamorous as you may think, where yeah, you may be and I'm gonna say something that is harsh, but in some ways they could be kind of true. Yeah, you want to work in the animation industry? Well, you'll have to go and accept the reality that whatever you'll be working on, you'll probably not make as much as I am right now. You'll probably be working at Disney or you'll work at Cartoon Network on your little series right over there. But it's going to really suck knowing the fact that you might not make as much money as someone like me, who would make more money by reviewing the thing that you spent hours and hours to go and animate. And that is true, unfortunately. Sometimes the payment is so bad where that there are reviewers and there are people in the cartoon community or in the YouTube cartoon community would make much more just by watching it or just talking about it, where people, like, not just myself, but like with Pan Pizza or Saber Spark or Alpha J or whatever, they would make much more than the animators who animate the stuff that they would go and talk about. There is that very harsh reality. And yeah, I do find that there is a major injustice to that. So honestly, we'll see maybe next year if these discussions could actually go somewhere, and maybe the gap could actually close off. But still, though, this is something that does highlight a harsh reality within the industry. So there, like, it pretty much shows the reality of the situation, which I personally find to be very healthy. Like, I mean, like, it is important to look into both the good and the bad, so that you could fully assess if this is something you want to go and pursue. If this is, if this is something that you want to go and, try to get into. And this is not to discourage anyone who would want to go into the animation industry. If you want to work as an animator or as a writer, definitely go for it. But it is still important to go and educate yourself both on the great things about it, which there definitely are a lot of amazingly great things about working in the animation industry, but there are also a lot of flaws as well, and there are going to be some hardships when it comes to working in there. And I mean, it's no different, like, even with myself, like, working, rather it be in the podcast or working on videos for my main channel, Electric Dragon 505, there are definitely some great things that make me love working on my job, but there are also some downsides at the same time where, yeah, there are times when what I do can honestly pretty much suck and would make me discourage others from doing what I do. So this is just to emphasize that if you want to go and work in the, like, if you want to be an animator, if you want to be a writer in the animation industry, then it is very much important to look into New Deal for Animation. Look at the hashtag, look at what others are saying, and look into the reality of what you're going to get into. Maybe for some, it might be a bit too much and would reconsider their choices if they want to work in there, or they will have, or it would go and prepare themselves for some of the downsides that could happen, and they'll still go and pursue it anyway. So I still think this is important. My God, stop scaring me like that, light! Holy crap! Oh my God, is this going to keep happening in this? As long as I still got my computer, I'll be fine. But anyways, yes. This is the big thing that I do want to highlight and I do want to talk about. So yes, for aspiring animators, give New Deal for Animation a look, and you'll see the reality of working in the industry. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to go and ask, what do you all think about the whole thing that's going on with New Deal for Animation, and what the Animation Guild is doing to try to go and lower the gap between the wages? Like, if you have any extra piece of information, any opinions you would like to go and express, let me know what you think. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, yeah, there we go. This might never happen in our lifetimes, but here's my view of that situation. Nowadays, giant billionaires and millionaires, aside a few humane ones, won't ever lay a cent for their workers. If the pay gap was at least dampered a little bit, and if we could run dry the tax havens and ban the existence of lobbies and corporates, most of American workers and families throughout the continent would have a better life. P.S. Don't count on the GOP for that. Yeah, I mean, that is true. I mean, we could debate that this is a far bigger issue, that, this isn't just like an animation industry problem, that this could be like a flat out capitalism problem, but that I feel like is kind of like a whole discussion in itself, we're talking about layers upon layers upon layers of what could be the issue. And yeah, capitalism is agreed can be a very problematic system, and we've seen plenty of examples of that. But yeah, like it could be part of the issue of what we are seeing right now with the industry, but still, like, again, this is just to say that it is a whole discussion in itself right there. Let's see what else. This is definitely an issue. I hope it gets addressed. While this does pretty much show how nowadays people behind animated projects are not getting paid as much as they should, and it also really shows how animation still is being undermined as a media and how animation is still not being taken seriously, so I hope this issue gets resolved. And yeah, that is kind of, yeah, you do bring up a very good point. Like, you know, the whole discussion about animation as a genre and whatever, like, yeah, there is still that is going on. And that's another example of why there are some people, especially powerful people, that view animation like that. It's because the payment is not as prominent as much as other companies. Like, right now, and what really shows is regarding the budget that they would go and give. Like, we've seen studios, rather it be like Sony, Illumination, DreamWorks, or whatever, like, we're starting to see them where they would go and give like very minimal budgets for their projects. Like, we're starting to see more and more big screen animated features that would have a budget that is just under 50 million. And what's even rarer is seeing movies that actually would have a budget that would go up and above and put out like a budget that is bigger than 100 million. And it feels like right now the only companies that would go and do so would be Pixar and Disney. And that's because like the Walt Disney Company has a lot of faith in their animation lineup. Like, in a way, like I probably said this before, but animation is the core of the company, and they are the ones who would take animation a little bit more seriously. Now, this is not to say Disney is a great company and that their business side should be revered or stuff like that. The business side I absolutely despise, and they're filled with garbage, trust me on that. But Disney is one of those rare companies that do take animation seriously, or at the very least, they take it a lot more seriously than plenty of other studios out there. So yeah, that is also another aspect, is how seriously animation is being taken. Let's see what else we got here. As an aspiring animation writer, it really sucks that this type of writer is particularly being given chump change for their craft. They pour their hearts and soul into creating something great and even monumental, and they basically earn squat compared to live action writers. I hope that things end up changing, this harsh reality ends, and animation writers will wind up getting the compensation they deserve. Also, Matt, I just gotta say this. You may need to change the bulb. I don't know if it's my light bulb, honestly. No, because the thing is that I think it is like some kind of legitimate quick power outage. Because I saw that, like, it's not just this light bulb. It was also like my other light bulbs that I do have that isn't as close to me. So I don't know. I think like it is a far bigger issue. Like, I even have my Christmas tree set up, and I think that one also went down as well. So I think it could be a legitimate power outage, but I am just very lucky that my computer is still on. So I just want to go and quickly mention that. Let's see what else we got here. Oh boy, this is both exciting and scary with need to create a change. The thing is, people are starting to realize their work in the place they work. They often do the harder labor than the business people. As such, the rich need people who don't have financial stability. However, this is why strikes are becoming more important more than ever. The work needs multiple people, and if they're nobody working or holding back or prevent movement, maybe we're about to have a revolution. Yeah, and I mean, it's not just strikes, but it's most importantly this is why it's important to have unions. This is why unions are such a big deal nowadays, not just for the entertainment industry, but just for the workforce altogether. This is why it's important to go and have unions, because having a union puts like that thing emphasizes your worth. Because without unions, and like big corporations are allowed to go and do whatever they want because, well, there's nothing that's really stopping them. At least with a union, it puts a limit to what these people can do in order to treat the people who are represented by the union respectfully. You know, to be treated as human beings and to give them the benefits that they do need, at least to go and survive and to have a livable wage. So that's the thing. Unions are very much important, and right, and like it really is telling when you do see corporations, and especially mega corporations like Amazon, that they despise unions, that they want to discourage people from having unions as much as possible, or even like go full on conservative by saying that unions are communism. If you support the union, you're a communist. I can tell you that if there is one thing that we could say, if there is a right answer to the question, what would Walt do? It's that. It's to say that unions are communism. All right, I'm going to read one more comment before we move on to our next story. Let's see. What else do we have? I'll go with this one. Why the fridge not? Animation should be treated as the valid creative medium that it is. However, financial dinosaurs haven't acknowledged it by now is baffling beyond words. Of course, anyone working in animation deserves equal pay as those in live action mediums. This shouldn't even be an issue in the first, but here we are anyways because dinosaurian double standards across the board and you name it, society. Yeah, it is. Like I said, this is a far bigger problem than even what is being talked about over here. It ain't just about animation writers getting a higher wage. It is a problem, like we talked about, that encompasses capitalism, that encompasses the general viewpoint of animation. There's a lot more that needs to be repaired, and unfortunately, it's going to take a long time. Even maybe it'll probably take even more than after our lifetime to go and resolve, but still, I feel like in terms of the animation industry, it is still highly important to have these kinds of discussions. Okay, so moving on to our next story. Well, we got a stupid news that we are gonna go and cover. And yes, it is now time that we shall once again dive into the stupid scamming world of NFTs. But the significance with this one right over here, well, it is a certain company that is involved with NFTs now, and really is a situation that would make a lot of people go, "Go!" Man, Homer, you took a long time there. I mean, like, did I have to press the button twice to go and get your attention? No, but for real though, this is actually a situation where even the fan base within this company, like, this isn't just a situation that's like, go! This is more of a situation that's more like, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, well, that company is actually none other than the Jim Henson Company. Yes, it was actually revealed sometime last week that the Jim Henson Company and VeVe are going to be teaming up in order to create a new collection of NFTs to honor the 35th anniversary of the cult favorite movie, Labyrinth. Now, just to let you know, we don't have any more details regarding what these NFTs are going to be, or if we are going to see NFTs of certain characters like Jareth, Lubo, Hoggle, Diderith. I forgot his name. I remembered. I checked his name before, but I might have gotten his name wrong. But you could go and correct me if I'm wrong in the chat wall. But if you've seen the movie, you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, we don't know who the characters specifically are going to be a part of the NFT collection, but they will be released sometime in early 2022. And we do have a couple of quotes that I would like to go and read you here. And this is from Melissa Siegel, the head of consumer products from the Jim Henson Company, as she states, "After 35 years, Jim Henson's Labyrinth is still beloved and respected as one of the unique and groundbreaking films of its era. It's a perfect tribute to have fans of this innovative production celebrate Labyrinth's anniversary with this incredible line of must-have NFT collectibles. Partnering with VeVe for the Jim Henson Company's first ever NFT release allows our dedicated and ever-growing fan base to connect with the film's cast of characters in an entirely new and engaging product landscape." Oh, someone corrected me. Thank you, Animation for Life. Didymus. Okay, there we go. How the frick did I forget Didymus? He was one of my favorite characters in the movie. Anyways, we also got another quote coming from Dan Crothers, the co-founder and chief operating officer of VeVe, in which he states, Labyrinth is one of the most iconic family films of all time. So we jumped at the opportunity to partner with the Jim Henson Company on a series of digital collectibles for the film. Our community of collectors is going to love displaying these in their virtual showroom for all to see. And you guys probably remember from last time when I talked about NFTs, VeVe is actually the same company that collaborated with Disney in order to make Disney Golden Moments, which was the NFT collection meant to celebrate the second anniversary of Disney Plus with Disney Plus Day. And they had a lot of controversial choices in terms of their NFTs, including the infamous NFT of Wall-E. So that company is going to be teaming up with Jim Henson in order to create Labyrinth 3D NFTs. And I'm just going to say this right now. I do not know a single Jim Henson fan that likes this idea or is even excited or whatever. In fact, there was actually a recent article that came out from toughpigs.com that actually stated that this NFT collection is the worst thing the company has ever done. Yes, even more so than the Happy Time murderers. Now, this is not necessarily a situation that is as bad as the Wall-E NFT, but it is actually so close because this actually goes against everything that Jim Henson stood for. Because for those of you who don't know, Jim Henson is a massive environmentalist. Like, Jim Henson is a pure lover of the environment. In fact, I would even say that he is someone that nowadays conservatives would actually despise. The kind of man that you would see incels like The Quartering, Geeks and Gamers, Clownfish TV, and all those types of alt-right channels that they would constantly make videos about how Jim Henson is such an SJW, that he is too woke to work in the industry, that Jim Henson, he's gonna be financially ruined. He's going to be homeless because if you go woke, you go broke. Which honestly, that term is the biggest lie that has ever spread on the internet. And I mean, keep in mind that there is some truth to what I say. And the biggest proof is what we have just seen with Sesame Street. Remember that whole controversy with Big Bird getting vaccinated, and it ended up triggering a lot of prominent conservatives like Ted Cruz, and even a lot of Trump supporters are now saying that Sesame Street and Big Bird is filled with communists who support vaccinating children and stuff like that. It's like what I said before. You know that I'm right when I say that many Trump supporters want to cancel Sesame Street, and they have a deep-rooted hatred that they don't want to admit of Jim Henson. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. Yes, Jim Henson is a full-on environmentalist. He cares about the world as much as he cares about people. In fact, he actually made a show that is entirely dedicated to environmentalism and to teach kids about caring about the world that you live in as much as the people that are all around you. You all know what that one is. That's Fraggle Rock. And that would, oh my God, imagine if there would be like something in the future where there would actually be this, there would actually be like this NFT collection of all Fraggle Rock, you know, like with get your NFT of Uncle Traveling Matt or Gobo or whatever. Now that is going to be true irony or true, like, the true insanity that was similar to the Wall-E NFT. But anyways, back to what I was saying with this one right over here. With Fraggle Rock, it is like probably the biggest example that Jim Henson has shown for his love of nature and for the environment. And this doesn't even include the numerous, and I mean numerous, of PSAs that Jim Henson has done to teach kids about the environment and to be more environmentally aware. And a lot of them actually do include many of their most famous characters. Like you go on YouTube right now and you'll probably find some that feature Kermit the Frog. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to go and actually look up an environmental PSA, like just to give you a full example. I wish I actually did. I actually did go and prepare this, but you know what? Let's actually go and actually check one out. Environment PSA. So I just want to go and look one up. Where would we go? What would be a good one? Oh, this one. Okay, so I'm gonna go with this. There's that, like, you just go on YouTube. Like, if you write down Kermit Environment PSA, there's actually a whole bunch. But let me go and show you this one over here. So I actually got one. So here. Let's check this out. I believe this is one from 1989.
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. You know, I was just wondering, what if everyone in the world lived in one house? What if everyone in the world lived in one house? We do.
This message was brought to you by the Better World Society.
So that is just one example to go and highlight, to be aware of the world around you, that technically we all live in one big Earth. So and again, this is just one of many examples that you would go and find of Jim Henson doing an environmental PSA, pretty much doing what he does best. And especially, like, even with this PSA, like, it does have that Jim Henson signature comedy, especially with the wacky antics of the monsters just going crazy, with all the monsters living in one house and just spreading complete chaos. But yeah, as you can tell with Jim Henson, yes, he is someone that heavily does care about the environment. And as I previously discussed last time when I did talk about NFTs, they are very harmful to the environment. They are the newest and biggest danger that the environment is facing right now. Because with NFTs, they consume a lot of energy. And I really do mean a lot of energy. And because they consume a lot of energy, that means they consume a lot of carbon, meaning that their carbon footprint is massive, which would cost heavily in terms of the environment. So that's the big thing that is considered controversial with NFTs. They are the new big danger to nature, the big polluter per se, the ultimate digital polluter. Now, similar to last time, however, it is also worth noting that considering that it is from VeVe, it is technically true that VeVe is the most environmentally conscious NFT company, that they are putting in an effort to reduce their carbon footprint while making their business with NFTs. But again, just like I said last time, technically VeVe is like a hybrid instead of a regular car, where, yeah, it's more environmentally conscious than a regular car, but it is still consuming fossil fuels nonetheless, and it is still better to not be involved with NFTs than to actually be involved with NFTs. So I just want to go and highlight that aspect right there. And honestly, I just find this to be completely stupid. Like, honestly, and I definitely do agree with all the other Jim Henson fans, where really there's just one reason why the company is even doing this in the first place. Like, it really is rejecting the environment just for profit, and it really goes against the morality and the teachings of Jim Henson, that they're really going that it really feels like the company is really going out of their way to jump into a trend in order to go and make more money, where they're even at the point where they're rejecting some of the philosophies of Jim Henson in order to go and actually make a profit. And this is why right now we are seeing massive backlash from the Jim Henson fan base for this decision. And honestly, like I said, I do not know a single Jim Henson fan that supports this idea. I have not seen so far anyone who is excited for these Labyrinth NFTs. And who knows, maybe there are going to be those like gullible NFT bros that will go and they're going to get into this. Who knows? Maybe this will be profitable for the Jim Henson Company, but still, it doesn't change the fact that it is flat out wrong. And this is something that the Jim Henson Company should not be involved with. And honestly, after seeing this, it does make me wonder, honestly, like, now we honestly need a list of companies that isn't involved with NFTs yet. Because I feel like right now we're seeing a growing amount of these companies that are jumping into this NFT trend because we have yet to actually see any laws that are being implemented, like the crypto tax that is in the infrastructure bill that the United States have passed a while ago. Like, that is not officially in place yet. So the fact that NFTs have yet to be fully regulated and stuff like that, of course, we're going to see companies jump into the opportunity in order to make extra cash by doing next to nothing. So I want to know, like, what company has yet to even jump into this industry? Yeah, it's no surprise Disney would do this, but it feels extra shameful that the Jim Henson Company would. Like, honestly, who's next? Like, we know Warner Brothers is capitalizing it like crazy. We know we know Viacom CBS is getting into it. We know Disney is in there. We know Jim Henson is in there. Like, who's next? Like, what company hasn't done it? What company hasn't been involved with NFTs? Sony, I mean, like, I don't know if we have heard Sony getting into it. I haven't heard of a Sony NFT, but Sony did it as well. Oh, Sony is into it. Okay, well, honestly, it's no surprise. I feel like with Sony, it's only a matter of time, honestly. Oh, yeah. So, okay, Nintendo is apparently one good example. Yeah, like, Nintendo does have a pretty bad reputation of, like, shutting down fan-made games, but apparently they shut down a Mario NFT game, which, finally, like, there's true justice. One controversial, like, the bad thing that they would do, they finally did it correctly, so at least there's that. Some people are saying Universal. Universal, I feel like it's only a matter of time. I mean, like, come on. Like, what? Like, do you guys not think a Minion NFT would never happen? That's gonna be a thing soon. And then there's okay, some people are saying Sega maybe. Okay, Studio Ghibli. Yeah, Studio Ghibli. Not. I don't think so. They have yet. Cartoon Network. I know they have done so. I believe Cartoon Network has already collaborated with VeVe. So there is already that. So I know already I can tell some people are already listing like a bunch of other companies trying to guess. So yeah, honestly, overall though, you guys do get what I mean. We just need, like, honestly, for now, we just need a list of all the companies that have yet to be involved and, like, eventually just shrink those. So who knows, man? But it just sucks. And it especially sucks for the freaking Jim Henson Company that now they're involved with the NFTs, which, like I said before, is just extra shameful, man. Why would you be involved with these kinds of scams? Like, especially when what you're offering to these people, they're not going to get, like, these cool collectibles. They're just going to get a receipt of these collectibles. It's ridiculous, man. I'm just not on board for it. And honestly, this is just a highlight, like, this shameful thing that the Jim Henson has done. If there is one company that shouldn't be involved with NFTs, it should have been the Jim Henson Company. And the fact that they are, it's just ridiculous. Okay, so with that said, I'd like to go into the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you think about Jim Henson, or the Jim Henson Company being involved with NFTs, with the Labyrinth NFTs? Are you guys on my side saying that this is a shameful thing that the companies that the company is doing? Or do you disagree with me and you're ready to go and invest in these NFTs? Let me know what you think on this. Let's see. This is why we need a worldwide ban on NFTs permanently. I'm glad that there's bills being passed that may regulate, censor, / ban NFTs, and if that gets passed, the companies will now wake up and turn against NFTs. Nah, that ain't gonna happen. I don't think it'll ever happen that NFTs are gonna be full-on banned. What I think is going to happen is that what will kill NFTs is just by regulating them. Put in, like, if there's one thing to ban is the scams that are attached to NFTs. And like I said before, scams are the foundation of NFTs, and if you get rid of the foundation, then the entire the entire empire will just collapse in itself. So so all you got to do is not ban NFTs, just regulate them so that scams would be less and less likely to happen, and then we will see NFTs fall, and it will discourage companies from even doing NFTs in the first place. Let's see. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is a horrible idea. NFTs in general are just a bad idea and just utterly harmful and just a waste of money. And I just hope the day comes when NFTs get banned. More people are demanding for NFTs to be banned. And another company I can think of is Macy's, when they did NFTs on some of the balloons of this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. Yeah, and from what I've heard, they were charging them at really stupid prices. Like, they were selling thousands of dollars for these NFTs of random balloons that appeared on Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. And I was like, why though? Like, I feel like at the price that they're selling, you might as well buy a Macy's Thanksgiving balloon. It's just way too stupid. It's like, I don't want to buy $8,000 worth of a freaking NFT of just a digital image of a balloon. Like, if I'm gonna spend $8,000, I better get the real freaking Macy's balloon. And by the way, if I would actually buy one of those balloons, it would undeniably be a Pikachu balloon, like a Pikachu balloon for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Which one? I don't know, but I'll take one and it shall be mine. Let's see what else we got here. I've said it once and I'll say it again. I will never understand the NFT fad. Yes, not sensation, fad. I haven't seen Labyrinth in a long time, but even then, this is a stupid idea. But going into the environmental PSA from Kermit, man, he really just said, we live in a society. I know I didn't say much about NFTs. I just wanted to build up to this. Say it with me, folks. Scam, magic, scam. Scam, magic, scam. Oh, yes. That is definitely true. And yeah, you do bring up a very good point, that it does feel like Kermit is all saying we all live in one world. Imagine just like at one point just Kermit coming up saying, "Hi ho, Kermit the Frog here. We live in a society. Yay!" Oh man, that would be one deep Muppet Show episode. All right, let's see what we got here. Even as someone who never watched anything made by the Jim Henson Company until recently, I'm not sure if I want to either smash my head into a wall, punch something, or scream into a pillow. Nintendo is so far the only company I could think of who seems really against NFTs. You know when the NFT fiasco has gotten bad? When the guys who created NFTs, Anil Dash, disowned them. Yeah, exactly. Again, please let there be the day when they get regulated. That's all I ask. Not to ban them, just regulate them. Put them in very specific rules. Like, make them, like, put in strict guidelines. You know, almost like treat them as treat NFTs as seriously as the Europeans are treating the pandemic. Put in specific rules that people must follow with the NFTs, and then you'll see they will not last. Let's see. Oh boy, I thought the Disney NFTs were bad, but when it comes to Jim Henson, I was like, bruh, why would you do that? Seriously, considering that Jim Henson was an environmentalist, then they should never make that decision. NFTs were just worthless and stupid. I know VeVe is trying to be good, but I think that's not enough. What's next? Are we getting Shrek NFTs? I don't think so. You'll see. I'll just say you'll see. I think that is going to happen. I think that ain't gonna take long until Universal is going to be releasing those special DreamWorks NFTs. Oh, you say that as a joke now, but I think it's gonna happen. Let's see now. What else? There's not a lot of comments, admittedly, so I'll see. I'll just read one more until we move on to the grand finale of this. Repeating this again, not buying into NFTs. Yeah, you know what? I think that's a good way to go and cap this story off. So don't buy NFTs, folks. Save your money. Be smart with your money. And be helpful to the environment. Okay, folks. It is time. We have finally reached the moment that we are going to be up to... a grand finale. And with this grand finale, I will say this was actually a last-minute addition because this was something that was just announced right now. And brace yourselves, folks, considering that we are at the end of the year, we are at the moment where we are about to enter into award season. And you know what that means, right? It's time for speculations, predictions, and guessing who would be the big winners, especially considering we are AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. We are going to be taking a close look at who is going to be nominated for Best Animated Feature. And that's exactly what we are about to look into right now, in which the Academy has officially announced the 26 animated features that are going to be eligible for the category of Best Animated Feature. And I actually do have my list here, which is coming from Animation Scoop. And so, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and read you here who are technically the nominations for Best Animated Feature at the 94th Academy Awards. And they are The Addams Family 2, The Ape Star, Back to the Outback, Belle, Bob Spit, We Do Not Like People, The Boss Baby, Family Business, Crypto Zoo, Encanto, Flea, Fortune Favors Lady Nikuko, Josie, the Tiger and the Fish, The Laws of the Universe, The Age of Elohim, Luca, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, My Sunny Maud, Paw Patrol the Movie, Pompo the Cinephile, Poopel of Chimney Town, Raya and the Last Dragon, Ron's Gone Wrong, Sing 2, The Spine of Night, Spirit Untamed, The Summit of the Gods, Vivo, and finally, Wish Dragon. Now we still have a long way to go before they fully announce what will be the true nominations. In fact, the Oscar nominations are going to be revealed on Tuesday, February 8th. But now this is something I love to do with this podcast, is that every year whenever they would make this list, this is where I would like to go. And I want to make my own predictions of what's going to be nominated, where we are going to be looking one by one at these nominations of who is going to be ultimately nominated. So hopefully we will go and share our thoughts on which ones we will think is going to be nominated. And we're going to look into each one of these animated features and list down which one will be nominated, which one won't get nominated, and which ones might get nominated. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this started. Our first ones that we will get rid of right now are the ones that we know shall get a nomination, which I will go and highlight green here. And the first one that I want to go and highlight is your obligatory Disney nomination. The animated feature made either by Walt Disney Animation Studios or Pixar that will guarantee a spot for a nomination. And I feel like, considering that this year we've gotten a whole bunch of them. We got Luca, we got Raya and the Last Dragon, we got Encanto, and technically you could say Ron's Gone Wrong also counts as well, considering that it is from 20th Century. But in this case here, I feel like there is one obvious choice. I feel like there is one animated feature that I feel like is guaranteed a spot no matter what. And that would have to be Encanto. Especially with the fact that it is this is the first animated feature ever since Moana that we have an original musical, which is from Disney Animation. Especially with the fact that it is getting a lot of positive word of mouth, a lot of praise from critics, and at least in terms of the conditions that it is going on right now with the box office, a lot of analysts are saying that it is doing decently well at the box office. Regarding if it's going to be profitable for Disney, that is still something we will have to wait and see. There might be a chance it might not, but still though, I feel like Encanto here is the strongest contender compared to Luca and Raya and the Last Dragon. Now, the next one, I feel like is going to be a new obligatory one to include, and that is going to be the obligatory Netflix movie. Now, we know that Netflix is a massive powerhouse in terms of award shows, regardless if it's the Academy Awards, the Emmys, or what have you, or even the Golden Globes. Netflix is very prominent and really invests a lot to make sure that their works are award-winning. And for this year, even though Netflix themselves didn't really put out anything great in terms of animation, Sony Animation, however, they're the ones who would have to go and pick things up for Netflix by supplying them with a bunch of animated films that range from decent to amazing. And I think it's safe to say there is only one here that is going to be pretty obvious, and that would have to be The Mitchells versus the Machines. That's the one so far that we are seeing that in terms of festivals, in terms of promotion and stuff like that it really is Mitchells versus the Machines that both Netflix and Sony are really putting in the most effort in terms of having this be a major awards contender to be the big competitor for Best Animated Feature, and hopefully that they can go and repeat the same wins that they got before with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where they just swept away all the awards to themselves. So yeah, definitely Mitchells versus the Machines. I think it has a very good chance of getting nominated. And then finally, you would have your obligatory independent animated feature. Now, this is going to be the one that is made outside of the United States and is usually the one that usually gets a lot of attention from festivals and different award shows. And I think there is one clear winner here for that one. That would have to be Flea. Now, for those of you who haven't heard, Flea is actually a brand new animation documentary that's getting a lot of attention, both for awards and for festivals as well. Like, it really is the must-watch independent animated feature that's gathering a lot of attention. So I feel like if there is one indie film that will be nominated for Best Animated Feature, it is undeniably Flea right over there. And I know this is something that, considering that I know it will get nominated, I myself feel like, yeah, eventually I need to watch Flea. I know a lot of people are going to ask afterwards, are you going to review it as well? Maybe not necessarily review it, but I mean more for research for myself to know what this movie is. Okay, so those are the three movies that I think they are going to be nominated no matter what. They are going to get a nomination for sure. But however, let's go and move on to what we know is not gonna get nominated, because yeah, considering there's only 5 spots, not all of these will actually get a nomination, and there's some that I can already tell they're not good enough to go and have a legitimate nomination. So the ones that I'm gonna get rid of, first of all, The Addams Family 2, yeah, there is no chance that movie is ever gonna get a nomination, especially with the fact that the first movie didn't even get a nomination in the first place. What the fridge makes you think The Addams Family 2 will be nominated? Then next up, there's also The Boss Baby Family Business. I know that the first movie got stupidly lucky when it comes to getting an Oscar nomination. But again, it got lucky. I don't think it'll have the same luck right now. It's going to be like last year with the Croods, where, yeah, the first Croods got nominated, but the second one did not. I think it's the same thing. There is no way Family Business is going to get nominated. Even though I personally find it to be better than the first, that doesn't mean I find that it would be Oscar-worthy. So no way it ain't going to get that nomination. Next up, it would be Paw Patrol the movie to get rid of, because usually the Academy is not a fan of nominating feature films that are based on TV shows, or at least in terms of animation, and for the Best Animated Feature category. Yes, I know South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut got nominated, but that was for Best Song. It wasn't for Best Animated Feature. So honestly, if SpongeBob didn't get a nomination, if The Simpsons never got a nomination, then I highly doubt Paw Patrol is going to get a nomination. In fact, while I'm at it, I'm going to go and get rid of The Laws of the Universe, right? Also, considering that is also a movie based on a series, technically based on an anime, but still it's kind of the same reason. Next up, I'll get rid of Ron's Gone Wrong. Considering that's technically the Disney movie that would least likely get a nomination, I don't think it's going to get a chance. Then there's also Spirit Untamed. Yeah, I don't think that's legit getting a nomination. You're not real. Yeah, like the first. Yeah, I think the first Spirited. Yeah, I think the first Spirit Stallion of the Cinnamon that got lucky that it actually got a nomination, but it got nominated for all the good reasons. We're not gonna see Spirit again at the Oscars, that's for sure. And finally, there is Wish Dragon. I think out of all the Sony animation films, that's the one that's going to least likely actually get a nomination. And debatably, amongst all the Sony animation Netflix movies, Wish Dragon I find to be the weakest, especially with the fact that it does try a little too hard to be like Disney's Aladdin. Like, those comparisons are honestly way too unavoidable. I know there are a lot of people like Cellspecs who are major fans of that feature, but I could see, I could see a lot of the promise of that movie, but I'm honestly on the camp where I find that, yes, Wish Dragon is kind of an Aladdin ripoff. All right, so there is still more, though, and there are some that I do need to get rid of, and that would have to be those that people have never heard of, because there's a very good chance that if you're listening or watching this, you've never heard of a good amount of these. So we'll get rid of the unknown ones, including the Ape Star. There's also Bob Spit, We Do Not Like People. I would also include Fortune Favors Lady Ninuko. I believe there's also Josie, Tiger, and the Fish that I would get rid of. My Sunny Maud also. I would get rid of Poopel of Chimney Town that I would get rid of. And by the way, this is no offense to people who have heard about some of these, but I mean, these are the lesser known ones that don't really have a chance. The Spine of Night I don't think has a chance, and neither does the Summit of the Gods. All right. With that said, though, yeah, I think I'll also include Crypto Zoo. I think that one doesn't really have much of a chance. All right. Now with that said, the only ones that are left are going to be the maybes, the ones that might actually have a chance. Now, first off, there is also first of all, there are the ones that have yet to actually be released. And the first one that I will say is Back to the Outback. I highly doubt this movie is good, but let's be honest, the movie is not out yet. We can't fully judge as of right now, so maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it could be a contender, but we'll see. The same thing for Sing 2, at least for me. I know there are some that say that they have saw an early screening of it. Good for you. I have yet to actually see it myself. So in terms of Sing 2, that will have to wait and see again. I don't know if there is going to be a good chance. So for that, I would have to go and say maybe. And then there are the ones that do have a legitimate chance. Let's go ahead. Now, with that said, let's go and actually talk about the other Disney movies, the ones that I have yet to talk about. Luca and Raya and the Last Dragon. Now, I could definitely imagine that the Academy might actually go and give a nomination to to one of these feature films, or especially the fact that, like, I think there could also be a possibility that maybe both of them could legitimately be nominated and fill in those empty spaces. But if anything, I feel like it's going to be very likely one or the other. It's going to be either Luca or Raya. So there might be that chance. Which one is it going to be? That we will have to wait and see. For me personally, I feel like there might be a stronger chance that Luca might actually get nominated, because like you got the one Disney animated feature with Encanto and the one Pixar film with Luca. But who knows? Maybe like the Academy might pull a surprise and they'll nominate Encanto and Raya. But that's why I put both Raya and Luca as a maybe. So we'll have to wait and see. And then there are the G Kids movies, which in here there is Belle and Pompo the Cinephile. Now, those two movies I say are maybe, because G Kids actually has a very good track record when it comes to getting a nomination at the Oscars for, like, usually to go and fill up that best animated feature for the independent films, which is like a great example is last year with Wolfwalkers. There is that. But for this year, though, I don't know if Pompo the Cinephile would actually have a chance, but I could definitely say that maybe Belle might legitimately get a nomination. Like, if this year, if there is a chance that we will see 2 independent animated features get nominated, I think Belle would be the most likely to go and get nominated. Especially, I believe it's from Mamoru Hosoda that's actually directing it. And especially with there was a lot of hype behind this movie, especially during festivals. You could correct me if I'm wrong, if it's not from Mamoru Hosoda. But yeah, I feel like if it's not Flea, then I feel like Belle is the other indie film that is most likely to go and grab a nomination. And finally, there is VeVe. Now, you never know if there is a major surprise. And I feel like VeVe I feel like there could be a chance that VeVe could get nominated in the same way why Encanto is going to get nominated, especially as an animated musical with music by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I feel like it might actually have a chance right over there. And especially it is from Netflix and it is another critically praised Sony Animation film. I could definitely see there is a possibility for that. Maybe not, but you know, honestly, maybe there could be a chance, or maybe it might have a stronger chance to have a song be nominated, to have best original song to be nominated for VeVe. Like maybe One of a Kind could actually find a legitimate nomination. Who knows? But ultimately, we will have to wait and see. But yeah, so far, these are my predictions. Now, bear in mind, this is just a prediction list. That doesn't mean that I'm 100% accurate on all this. These are just my personal guesses, so take all this with a grain of salt. But I will say now, if I would go and make a concrete decision, a concrete prediction on what I think are going to be nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars, my guess would have to be Encanto, Flea, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Luca, and Belle. I think those are my guesses. I think those are going to be the 5 choices. I think. I could totally be wrong again, but ultimately, the true time will tell when we will have to wait and see when it's going to be released on February 8th, 2022, or the nominations when they're going to be released. So those are just my guesses. And with that said, let us now go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you think is going to be nominated at the Oscars for Best Animated Feature? What are your predictions? What do you think are going to be the 5 animated films that will be nominated? Let me know what you think. Let me see your list. Okay, let's see. Someone is saying one is saying Ron's Gone Wrong, VeVe, Encanto, Luca, and The Mitchells vs. the Machines. Okay, interesting. Another one is saying Encanto, Luca, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Raya and the Last Dragon, and VeVe. Wow, a lot of people are ignoring Flea, are they? Anyways, there are definitely some interesting nominations for this year. For me, my predictions are Encanto, Luca, Mitchell's vs. the Machines, Flea, and Belle. Okay, so kind of like my list. Okay, I see. But regardless, I wish all the nominees the best of luck. Also, on a side note, am I the only one who is dreading the Oscars show this year after how much of a disaster last year's show was? Oh my god, are you kidding? I'm freaking excited. I'm hoping for more disastrous moments, man. It's like watching The Room or Troll 2. Like, seriously, I'm at the point where I want to see the next, like, disastrous moment that occurred. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Let's see. If I were to make my predictions here, as well as any additional predictions, I would say Belle, Encanto, with a Best Original Song nomination for Dos Orgullas. I'm gonna say right now, I disagree with you. I think it's gonna be Waiting for a Miracle that's gonna be nominated. Like for sure, I think this is going to be a year where Disney is also going to get a nomination for Best Original Song, and I think it's going to be Waiting for a Miracle. I cannot imagine anything else other than Waiting for a Miracle. Anyways, Belle, Encanto, Flea, with additional nominations for Best International Feature and Best Documentary, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, and Luca, with VeVe getting Best Original Song for either Inside Your Heart or Keep the Beat. Nah, never mind. Give them all to Boss Baby 2. Yeah, just to make a massive plot twist, the winner is Boss Baby 2. Let's just create chaos. Why the fridge not? Let's see now. At this moment, Belle, Encanto, Flea, Mitchell's vs. the Machines, and Raya and the Last Dragon. Speaking of Flea, that Denmark could be the first film to be nominated in all 3 feature film categories for documentary feature film and Best International Feature. By the way, Golden Globes and Critics' Choice nominations next week. I personally do not care about Critics' Choice Awards, but Golden Globes? That's going to be something we will talk about next week for sure. Let's see what else we got. Here are the predictions. Belle, Mitchell's vs. the Machines, Luca, Flea, and who's most likely going to win? Encanto. I just hope that the 94th Academy Awards does better than last Oscars, because last year's awards was terrible. Also, how many do you think Encanto might be the winner for the 94th Academy Awards? I think personally might be a little too early to say, but we will have to wait and see. Let's see what else we have here. Another guess. The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Encanto, Luca, Flea, and Belle. You know, I'm honestly quite surprised that we are all on the same page here. Oh, someone actually has something interesting here. Raya, Luca, The Spine of Night. Ooh, interesting. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, my current picks based on what I've seen so far this year. Luca, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Raya and the Last Dragon, Ron's Gone Wrong, and VeVe. Okay, wow. Not even including Encanto. I'm going to go and do one more prediction before we cap this off. Let's see now. My picks are Mitchell's vs. the Machines, Encanto, Flea, Luca, and Belle, although Raya might pull a surprise if the Academy goes for another Disney film. For the competition, it looks like it's going to be the Mitchells versus Encanto, since they managed to win early in different critics awards, such as New York and National NBR, with the Mitchells gaining the upper hand. That is my prediction. So good luck to them for award season. Yeah, I think that's gonna be a major thing that we are going to see. Like, this is going to be my guess, but I feel like throughout the award season, it's going to be like last year with Wolfwalkers versus Soul. I think it's going to be a big round of Mitchell's versus Encanto, where Encanto is going to get a good amount for itself, while Mitchell's is also going to get a good amount for itself. So again, it's too early to tell, but we will have to wait and see. Actually, one more. I'm going to read. Is there one more that I would add? Actually, okay, yeah. Okay, one more right over here. Here are my predictions. The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Encanto, Luca, and VeVe are very likely to be nominated. Raya might get a nomination. Belle and Flea could get nominated if they still care about giving foreign animated features any attention anymore. Finally, Boss Baby might troll the Oscars again. Maybe not this time, but who really knows with them at this point. Actually, no, I think, you know what? I take it back. I'm going to say this right now. Yes, it is for sure the Boss Baby is not going to get nominated, because do you really think at this point the Academy would want to give more recognition to Alec Baldwin? Just saying. And with that said, I think that should do it for this week for AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. What a fun episode this has been, with a lot of beautiful highlights and a lot of great interactions and discussions. So tune in next week for more great crazy adventures with AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. In fact, next week we will definitely be talking about the Golden Globe nominations. And with all that said, I would like to say thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, see you later, dudes!